babies. Look at me, supposed to be on hiatus and still up in here with my favorite people. And why? Cause y'all my favorite people. We still got another Wednesday to get through before I'm back with some fresh mayhem makers for your listening pleasure. But I just couldn't stay away no longer. So I figured one of my crime cousins dropped me a line and asked me for an update on some things. And I figured why not give y'all a little something to help tide you over. Miss Candace, baby, this one is for you, cuz. Y'all already know I don't just tell stories and move on like nothing happened. Because you see, some of these here cases, they don't end when the episode drops. They evolve a bit more. And baby, one trio that we talked about before, they each chose a very different path, and not now one of them led to peace. I'm gonna start out with Kyrika Wortham because Sugarfoot, Sister Girl, is done. I'm talking locked up, sentence finito. Now, Kyrika is currently serving 16 years in federal prison after running a $9.4 million fraud scheme against Amazon. Ooh, and honey, if that wasn't enough, while old girl was out on bond waiting for her sentencing, this chick forged a federal judge's signature. Not a little bitty note for some, but bitch, a federal judge? Like, ma'am, you thought they was gonna let that slide? Cause baby, they just hit her with another guilty. Well, no, they didn't hit her. She hit them up with another guilty plea for that little stunt for forging that judge's signature. This just happened in October of last year. And guess what? The sentencing for that charge is today. Now, I couldn't find anything on what had happened, but we can understand that she already had 16 fed time. They probably gave her anywhere from another 5 to 10. We'll see, because it'll come out and you know I'm going to tell you what it was, honey. So yeah, Kyrika, she didn't just dig a hole. Baby, she bought a shovel, a backhoe, and she was like, let me show you how I can go deep. Now, also in that episode with her, we had Darren Anthony Robinson. Now, Darren was initially arrested and released on bond, and then he cut off his ankle monitor. And baby, he said, prison? I think not, because Darren is currently on the run, honey. Ain't no laying low. Baby, that nigga is gone. That man cut that damn ankle monitor off and disappeared. Poof, like a fart in church. Baby, now the FBI, they still looking for him now, and they think he can be anywhere from between Panama to the United Arab Emirates. But I don't know, with all this war and things going on, I think they got bigger fish to fry than to worry about where old boy is. Well, all I can say is he went down for $100 million Ponzi scheme. $100 million. So I'm gonna say that he got the funds to stay gone for as long as he needed to stay gone. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. And then the final in that trio of scammers was Joanna Smith Griffin. And just to give you a quick refresher of what Joanna did, she had a company. It was worth about $11,000, and she said it was worth 3.7 million, and then proceeded to go and get $10 million from investors for telling lies. And of course, she used that money for her personal gain, house, wedding, all that shit there. And they was like, no, you will not, ma'am. Well, we ain't really heard nothing about Joanna's case. There hadn't been too much movement. And, she is facing up to 40 years if they convict her on, what was it, wire fraud, regular fraud, identity theft. Sister Girl is facing some good white collar shit. So, like I said, lately it has been silent. Now, that doesn't mean ain't nothing happening. That just means that the lawyers is earning their retainers. You know what I'm saying? They trying to figure out how much fight she got in her before she have to fold, because with the type of time she facing, baby, you better make your next move your best move. So let's recap, Noir Nation. One of them locked up, one of them on the run, and the other one is somewhere in between trying to figure out how she can end up with this story not taking her life completely away from her. And if this don't prove my point, greed will have you out here risking everything, your freedom, your future, your name, honey, all for some coins that was never supposed to be yours in the first place. Ooh, honey, marinate on that for a minute. If you have not heard that episode, you might want to go run that one back after you hear this flashback episode. I'm just saying. Cause trust me, if you know how it all started, it makes how what I just told you hit just a little bit different. And speaking of choices, oh baby, the votes are in, and the winning episode for the original story series, The Favor. Dun 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 dun. Ending B, Danielle saving herself. Baby, y'all said she was not about to go down for nobody. And baby, I can respect it. So the ending is going to drop on Thursday. And because I love y'all so much, I'm going to also drop the runner up ending on Friday, which was ending C, Danielle flipping the fuck out, right? I want to just make sure we clear on a couple of things, Noir Nation. You see, this week was just a sample of what Melanin Mayhem Story Series was going to give you. But baby, after this week, them their endings, they gonna live on the subscription side of things. And with that subscription, you're gonna get all three endings, plus some more goodies I got for you. You know, some hot takes, behind the scenes commentary, and of course, the first taste of all the things that I am in the kitchen cooking up for you, Noir Nation. If you want to hear how all of this is going to play out, you already know what to do. And because I know we all have our favorite streaming platforms, the subscriptions will be available no matter where you listen. So if you're on Spotify, which we do prefer, or on Amazon, iHeart, Apple, or YouTube, or wherever you listen to me, the link for the subscribing will be in the social media post as well as in the episode notes. I will have that ready for you by before the next story drops. 2 clicks and it gets you in, baby. The inner circle. That's what we calling this. So just to recap. First part of the story will drop on Sunday nights. The endings, however, will be by subscription only. So go on ahead and govern yourselves accordingly. Because, honey, the story I am dropping on Sunday night. Ooh, child. Understand, we not slowing down over here. It is pedal to the metal, Noir Nation. So now that I have primed you up real good, I got to go because again, I'm on hiatus. I ain't supposed to be here. Let me get you ready for a little flashback mayhem. Continuing with our celebration of Women's History Month, I got a trio for you. Y'all remember the OGs of Death Row? Well, if you don't, I'm about to reacquaint you with it. Y'all enjoy, and I will see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye.
On December 12th, Disney Plus invites you to go behind the scenes with Taylor Swift in an exclusive 6-episode docuseries.
I wanted to give something to the fans that they didn't expect. The only thing left is to close the book.
The end of an era. And don't miss Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, the final show, featuring for the first time the Tortured Poets Department. Streaming December 12th, only on Disney Plus.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Melanin Mayhem with me, your favorite country girl, Renee Davis. If this is your first time kicking it with us Mayhem style, welcome. Whoever put you up on this pod, make sure you get them a really nice Christmas gift because they just really hooked you up. And if you are a card-carrying member of the Mayhem Squad, what's up, cousin? How your mama now? Today I got a treat for y'all. You know, sometimes I'll go down a rabbit hole and I'll run across a story that seems interesting, right? And I'll just add the name to my ever-growing list of melanated baddies that I want to tell y'all about. That list getting long as fuck, y'all. I'm telling you, I got mayhem for days, darling. But then there are other times that I find I run across a story that I just have to stop right then and there and write about it. Today's stories got me like that. And I said stories. You heard right. I think I'm going to do Halloween backwards this year. This week, I'm going to give you a little piece of a treat. Because y'all know I got plenty of tricks to pull out my motherfucking bag. Today I'm going to tell you 3 stories about some real OGs from way back that you probably never heard of because, that's what I do. And unlike our usual fare, I can guarantee you're going to walk away today feeling some kind of way. And that's all right. It's our history, the good and the bad. And breathing new life into some real shit that happened way back, in my opinion, is a good thing. We need to remember how shit really was for our people just a few generations back. Remember what we had to fight for and what our people went through so that we don't fuck around and let the motherfuckers try to put us back where we came from. We need to remember that we are actually in our infancy of freedoms. It was just 60 short years ago that we couldn't even vote. So keeping the oral history alive, we make sure the lives of our ancestors and the shit they went through isn't forgotten. And speaking of ancestors, like I said, this week we going way back. How far, Nay? To the 1800s, bitch. We talking antique mayhem. To the first time a black female was executed in the states of Texas and Kentucky. And now to clarify here, they were executed legally through a bullshit legal system that was run by white men or whatever, but they were legally sentenced to die in a court of law of the white government. Now, I have to make that distinction because we know melanated people were getting killed left, right, and sideways by the white people, period, full stop. Now that we got that out the way, let's get into some mayhem. Like I said, I got 3 stories for you this episode. So first up in front of the congregation is a melanated mommy that took matters into her own hands according to the law and damn near decapitated her colonizer. Let me introduce you to our first Melanin Mayhem Maker this week, Miss Jane Elkins. Now Jane was born the year 1800 and Jane was a bad mamma jumbo. How I know? Because I was actually able to read about her and what the fuck went down. We have mayhem makers that are born in modern times, and I can't find shit on them. But I can reach way back to slavery and come out with some tea. It's crazy that I was able to find some historical background information about Jane, who at the time was a slave. And y'all know record keeping was some bullshit back then. But since our mayhem maker is special because she did some historical shit, somebody actually sat down and wrote her name and published it in a newspaper to talk about the shit she did. Now, because I don't know the month and the date, she probably didn't know the month and the day either. I found out, like I said, that she was born around 1800. The first time her name came up on a piece of paper, which is where she made history the first time, as the first documented enslaved person that was purchased in Dallas County, Texas. Yep. Ain't that some bullshit? Our girl's name was written on a goddamn bill of sale. Yeah, I know. Work with me now. I got something that's gonna make you feel a little bit better and then a whole lot worse. So let's just press on and get through this shit. Jane was sold by one colonizer named Edward Wellburn to another colonizer named John Young. And at the time, they estimated that Jane was about 44 years old when she was bought and paid for on March 17th, 1844 for a whopping $400. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I had a little moment when I saw that number because I was like, $400? What the fuck? But I'm thinking today's money, right? So then I started doing some math. And in today's money, that $400 would be the equivalent of $16,816.04. Okay, Jane. That was good coin spent. I'm just saying, y'all, if a bitch gotta be sold, can she at least be worth some good coin? I mean, hell, it's a whole lot of free and reduced price transactions going on these days. I'm just saying, Jane wasn't no $40 chick. Now, at 40, Jane done seen some shit. She a full-grown woman that has lived with slavery and all the bullshit that came along with that shit. And I would think that after a while, a motherfucker just get tired of being sold off to different colonizers and having to learn how they like they shit and maybe they ain't shit and you were in a better situation where you just left and I don't know. But what I do know is 40-something-year-old Jane was sold again to yet another colonizer named John and his wife, America Elkins. Now, Jane is pushing 50 long and now. Jane ass is tired. She's set on her ways. Her nerves probably bad. You know what I'm talking about. She done kicked it at the Elkins spot for like 9-10 years till old Mr. Elkins exited stage right, leaving his widow, America, to run shit, right? So Jane is shall we say, settled in at the Elkins house, right? She's so settled in that she adopts the Elkins last name as her own. She is now Jane Elkins. She's no longer Jane, no last name. She a Elkins, right? She part of the family. Kind of, sort of, you know what I'm talking about. Well, America decides that she gonna start a staffing service, and Jane gonna be her first worker. She leased Jane out to another colonizer in the town named Andrew Wisdom, who had 2 little bitty children. Now, mind you, like I said, Jane in her 50s. She like 53, 54-ish, somewhere around in there. And what she is not is with the bullshit. She don't want to be running behind no little children or nothing. She wants some peace and quiet, like what she had over at the Elkins house. In my mind, because I can see this in my mind, right? I can see Jane asking America Elkins, Elkins, can you send somebody else over there to work for that man? I was mighty tired. And then I could see America's punk ass saying, you get your ass over there. You know what? I ain't gonna even hold you, because I can see in my mind that Jane is also fed the fuck up. How do I see that? Well, Jane worked for the Wisdom family for only a small amount of time. The next time we see Jane's name appear in print was in May of 1853 when she was arrested for murder. Oh yeah, our girl had fucking enough. She was sealing before there was a ceiling, and there wasn't no sugar in there to stop her from going upside Mister's head. Yeah, Jane, she got up one night after the Wisdom family had went to bed. She went in Mr. Wisdom's room and took an axe and bust him in the head to the white meat. Yeah, Jane was fed up. Like, what the fuck did that man do to her? Because she ain't fuck with the children. So they must not have been the issue. She murdered his ass. And that's a cold way to go, y'all. I'm thinking she was probably sitting down one day and just started plotting on his ass. She made sure that axe was ready and waiting on that motherfucking day. And then one day, he probably put his hands on that 50-something-year-old woman, and she was like, nope, not today, Satan. Today you gonna die. And she did that shit. Now, after the shit was over, Jane was like, oh my God, I done fucked up now. It's gonna be hell to pay. In 1853, you couldn't just kill a white man with an axe. you might not make it out the yard. But in Jane's case, she was actually arrested and taken to jail and put on trial. Now, mind you, all of this happened in the span of a week. Justice was swift back in the day. They didn't give the grass time to grow under your feet. You do this shit, we finna go and take care of this little business right now. Well, on Tuesday, May 10th, 1853, they indicted Jane for murder by a grand jury, meaning a bunch of white men got together and said, yep, she did that shit. And then on May 16th, 1853, at the trial of the state of Texas versus Jane, a slave. Yeah, that description was just like that. It was her name, Jane, and in parentheses, a slave. Another group of white men was gathered together to form a jury, and they had a quick trial. And y'all, I don't know if it was mid-century shade or what, but there was a little blurb in one of the newspaper's accounts. It said that Jane slept through most of the trial. Ma'am, were you unbothered? Did you know that they was gonna do what the fuck they wanted to do? And it didn't matter what you said. So you said, why not give them the ultimate fuck you and go to sleep in the courtroom? I'm gonna go with that one. That's how I want to see my girl Jane. I'm just saying. They described her demeanor as indifferent. Like, they did have some semblance of a trial, I guess you could say, even though there wasn't no lawyer for Jane, there were no witnesses, and they didn't have no evidence other than that axe. But they did, at some point, ask Jane if she had something to say, and Jane said, somebody else did it. I know that right, Jane. If you ain't got nothing else to say, put that shit on somebody else. And, well, a couple of minutes later, a jury of none of her peers said, nah, bitch, that's all you. Guilty. It's so crazy that we don't know shit about Jane's life, but I was able to find out all about her death. So the next motherfucking day, May 17th, 1853, Jane was sentenced by Judge John H. Reagan. I wonder if he the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpappy or that old president we used to have, Reagan. Who knows? Could be. Anyway, Judge Reagan sentenced her to death by hanging. The death decree said, we're going to keep your ass in this jail from today, the 17th of May, until the 27th of May. And on May 27th, 1853, sometime between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m., we're going to go ahead and get down with the business at hand. Like, sheesh. Can you be a little bit more specific? Like, damn, 11 to 3, that's a big-ass gap. Narrow that shit down a little bit. They asked Jane, did she have anything to say? And she didn't. She was just, at this point, like, what would be the point? Air is a precious commodity for the next 10 days. Ain't no need in wasting no breath where don't no breath need to be wasted. I'm with you, Jane. And for the next 10 days, Jane got prepared to meet her maker. Because bet your ass, on May 27th, they did indeed hang Jane right outside the courthouse. And in doing so, they made Jane the first woman, the first black woman to be legally hanged in the state of Texas. I wish I could say that after Jane made history that they let her rest in peace, but that would just be too much like right? They buried Jane in a shallow grave near the courthouse, but somebody dug her up and used her as a medical cadaver, which apparently was a common thing back in Texas back in the day. When a person died, the medical community just went and took their bodies. I mean, we were really barbaric. I guess we still barbaric. Ugh, too much. Well, in 2022, the Texas Historical Commission put up an official Texas historical marker in Dallas at 263 Commerce Street in memorial to Jane, recognizing her significance to Dallas County and the state of Texas as the first black woman ever sold, the first woman, and the first black woman to ever be legally hanged in the state. Woo, child! Again, knowing where we came from. Y'all didn't know shit about Jane, but she was a bad bitch. She went in there and went upside her colonizer's head and was like, not today, Satan. We ain't finna do this shit no more. Kudos to you, Jane.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number, save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Now, second up to bat in our Melanin Mayhem Mamacitas making history is another bad girl that set historical records for her crime. This next one gonna make you go, for real. Like, there will be feelings. It's gonna piss you off, but just remember there's nothing we can do about it now except keep the history alive, remember her name, and thank God for how far we have come. So we're gonna leave Texas, and now we heading to Kentucky. Allow me to introduce you to our next mayhem maker, Susan Eliza. Susan Eliza was a 12-year-old girl. Yes, I said 12, so you know this about to be some bullshit. But come on, we're gonna get through this. Knowing that she was 12 when all this shit went down, we can calculate that she was born sometime in 1855. In 1867, little Eliza was what they called a nursemaid by this family, the Graves family. And no, she wasn't no RN at 12. She was basically a babysitter, right? Her job was to watch 3-year-old Walter Graves. And y'all know, back in the day, our jobs consisted of making the lives of the envelopians easier. Cooking and cleaning and raising their children and keeping the fields producing. And, all the shit that made the world work was our job, but we ain't getting no credit for the shit. Well, according to the streets, Eliza had only been on the job for about a month. And then one day, in August of 1867, Eliza was doing her work looking after little Walter. Eliza said she ain't have no beef with her employees. They treated her all right, and the little boy was chill, so the job wasn't no stress to her, right? She had only been working for that family for about a month when the fuckery happened. According to Eliza, there was a bitch named Lucy that was bound and determined to fuck up Eliza's world. See, Lucy was a washerwoman. She was there to wash and hang the clothes out and shit for the family. But Lucy also had a reputation as a bitch that didn't play. And they said that she had killed 2 or 3 of her own children. One of them she smothered and the other 2 had accidents where they ended up falling on their head. Ugh. So Lucy is not the one to be fucking with because you might end up dead, right? Well, according to Eliza, she had given little Walter a piece of candy. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Babies love candy, right? Well, that goddamn Lucy felt some kind of way about Walter getting anything. Lucy was on some fuck them kids type of time. She told Eliza that she should have gave that candy to Lucy's children because Walter's pale ass can get candy anytime. And Eliza, she don't want no smoke. She trying to smooth the situation over because Lucy is older and bigger than her. And like I said, she don't want no smoke with Lucy. So she tried to focus on Walter and his little baby sister. She just, hey, Walter, oh, you're so sweet, Walter. Go give your little sister a kiss, Walter. And she, thinking she gonna refocus Lucy's attention. It didn't. Lucy wanted her children to have that candy. And then Eliza fucked around and gave Walter another piece of candy. And Lucy goes the fuck off. Like she was indignant that Eliza was giving this white child something that her black children should have had. Eliza still trying to focus on Walter, telling him he a sweet boy and shit. And Lucy say some slick shit like, yeah, he gonna be real sweet before the night over with. So Eliza's spidey senses kind of kicked in and she was like, fuck you mean, Lucy? And Lucy was like, mind your business, bitch. And off Lucy goes. So Eliza don't think no more about it, and she finished playing with Walter. So a little later, she got Walter in the wagon, and she pulling him around the yard and shit. Nothing wrong, just doing her job, right? Well, here come Lucy. And Lucy tell Eliza to go get some hay out of the loft. Now, going to do this is going to take Eliza away from Walter, and she going to be gone for a little minute, right? Now, Lucy washed the clothes. What the fuck she need with some hay? But it didn't matter to Eliza. Doing this little errand for Lucy might keep her on Lucy's good side. So she go get the hay. And she could see Mrs. Graves in the house doing some shit in the kitchen and Eliza skipping around to go get some hay. Lucy looked like she grabbed up some buckets to go get some water. She put the buckets down by the well and then she grabbed Walter up out his goddamn wagon. This low down bitch tell Walter to say goodbye to mama and goodbye to papa. Well, Eliza seeing all this and she like, Lucy, why you making him say bye? What you about to do? Now, according to Eliza, the next thing she know, instead of Lucy answering that question, this bitch pick up a rock and start busting Walter upside the head with it. Wait a minute, Lucy? Shit! So Eliza run over. She shook. Like she don't know what the fuck to do, according to her. So she tell Lucy, I'm finna go tell on you. And just as Eliza was about to go and sing like a bird, she said Lucy grabbed her up and snatched her back and put that motherfucking rock in Eliza's hand. Now Eliza say Lucy made her hit Walter 3 or 4 times. And she was like, if you don't hit him, you can join his little candy eating ass. So Eliza's scared of the devil in front of her. She do what Lucy say, according to her. She say she hit Walter in the stomach and then she hit him a couple of times around the head and Walter ain't moving no more. Now here come this bitch Lucy. She gonna cover Walter up with that damn hay she sent Eliza to go get. And the bitch just walk off. Like, in a few minutes, somebody gonna be looking for Walter. Lucy grabbed them buckets up, fill them up with water, and take them in the house. Like ain't shit happened. Now, Eliza is sitting here about to lose her mind. She ran in the house too, and she whispering at Lucy like, what we gonna do, bitch? What we gonna do? And Lucy just ignoring her ass. And like I said, at this point, Eliza don't know what to do, but she know her ass is grass. She corners Lucy again, and she asks her why the fuck did she mollywop Walter like that? And Lucy says it's because Miss Graves had whooped her daughter the day before, and she wasn't shit. And that white woman was keep putting her hands on her child, and bitch, I don't play that. So Lucy is one of them get your lick back kind of women. So apparently every time Miss Graves did something to her, one of her children, Lil Walter was made to pay for that shit. Because according to Eliza, a couple of times prior, Big Lucy had done put her hands on Walter. And Eliza told on Lucy, and Lucy would get in trouble. So Lucy been sitting with this shit for a minute, plotting and planning what the fuck she was gonna do to get even. And now little Eliza scared because Lucy looking at her like she next. And she said as much. She said, Eliza said Lucy told her to keep her name out her mouth or she would be killing another nigger with the hard ER. So now Eliza don't know what to do, but I know that child must have been about to bust out her skin because she can't say nothing to nobody. But of course, if the babysitter is standing around without the baby, somebody gonna ask, where the fuck is Walter? And Mrs. Graves did indeed ask where her child was. And Eliza point out in the yard, and Miss Graves looking, but she don't see no Walter. So she tell Eliza, go show me where my child at. And Eliza take her to where the dead body is. Woo, Lord. Of course, Mrs. Graves loses her shit. Somebody go get the constable, and amazingly, instead of stringing up little Eliza in the yard, they haul Eliza's ass off to the pokey. Now, Eliza did tell them that it was Lucy. She put all the shit on Lucy. And of course, Lucy was like, I did not mess with that child. And I don't know why that girl got my name all in her mouth. Now, they didn't charge Lucy with shit. They did tell her that her services was no longer needed and to get the fuck off the property ASAP. And she did. Lucy might have been a killer, but she was a smart killer. She lived to see another day without the law after her ass. Eliza, on the other hand, was about to go see the judge. And her trial, if we can call it that, began a few weeks later after the crime. We still in August of 1867. Eliza did have a white lawyer, but he wouldn't let her testify because he thought it might incite a mob, and they didn't want a lynching to happen. You know what I'm saying? So her lawyer argued that the crime was spur of the moment, that Eliza hadn't planned on killing Lil Walter. It just kind of sort of happened. Now, the newspapers at the time, they described Eliza as unconcerned, as though nothing had happened. I think it was because she was 12 years old, and unlike the sophisticated 12-year-olds of 2024, in 1867, a 12-year-old's mind was like that of what a 5 or 6-year-old child is now. She ain't know shit about shit. She couldn't grasp the gravity of the situation. So she just sat and she listened to all the shit that was going on around her that was going completely over her head. So the jury come in and it did what juries do. It convicted her of the crime that she confessed to. And Eliza stood in front of Judge Drain as he sentenced her to death. Her death date was December 20th, 1867. The manner of her execution was to be hanging. They filed appeals and the execution was stayed while her case went all the way to the Supreme Court. Yes, baby, little Eliza, her case went to the Supreme Court. But I told y'all the court system moved fast back in the day, way faster than it does now. And all that shit happened in a matter of months, not years. And at some point, little Eliza must have had a birthday because she was 13 when they took her life. They were not going to let Eliza make it to 14. After all her appeals were denied, Eliza got a new death date, February 7th, 1868. Now, she been locked up since the day all this shit went down. This child been on death row with no idea of what it really meant. All she knew was that at her young age, while not knowing when she was born, she knew exactly when she was gonna die. And people visited her in jail, mostly clergy. Y'all know black folks will religion your ass to death. I can't imagine how they prayed and how many Bible verses were thrown at Eliza. And it must have been a lot, because when a white reporter came and asked her if she wanted a preacher to pray with her when she was about to be killed, she said yeah, but she wanted a white preacher because she couldn't understand what that old black man had said when he came to see her. Ooh, child. The shade, little Eliza, the shade. Y'all know children will cut you deep with the shit that come out their mouth. I'm willing to bet that black preacher was madder than a motherfucker that Eliza did not want him with her during her last moments. Because you know he had a whole sermon prepared to usher her to the upper room. She also said that she lied about Lucy and was sorry for it. What? I'm going to have to chew on that one for a little bit. Because maybe she didn't want Lucy to catch no smoke after she was gone, you know? Or maybe she didn't want to run into Lucy on the other side and have Lucy still feel some kind of way. So Eliza expressed that she was sorry for killing Lil Walter and hoped that God would forgive her and let her come into heaven. Oh, Lord, that touched my soul. I am positive that the angels were waiting on the other side for her, just welcoming her in. Eliza was getting right with the Lord, so even in her youth, she understood wasn't no coming back after the law had had its way with her. Susan Eliza was executed by hanging February 7th, 1868 at 2 p.m. in Henry County, Kentucky. There was a crowd there to witness the execution, and that crowd was made up of white and black people too. And do you know that when the shit was over, them looky-loo motherfuckers that came to watch the show, they actually took pieces of the rope that was used to hang her like a motherfucking souvenir? Excuse me, what kind of twisted-ass minds did people have back in the day? I promise you, I bet I never come across nobody with a family heirloom of a piece of rope that's been handed down from generation to generation. Because I promise you, that's cause for a laying of hands on sight. For the ancestors. You know what I'm saying? Little Susan Eliza, with no last name, made history with her death. She is the holder of the title of the youngest female executed in the state of Kentucky ever. And of the 10 juveniles of melanated hues, she was the only female of the bunch. Eliza was the second youngest person to have ever been executed, coming in behind a 12-year-old boy who got hanged back in 1791. Susan Eliza was the last female to ever be executed in Kentucky. That makes our little munchkin Melanin Mayhem Maker an Alpha and Omega Death Row OG in Kentucky, huh? All right, Noir Nation. For my last tale of mayhem, we still antiquing, and we are headed to the great state of Virginia. Y'all, this shit I'm about to drop on y'all is just as tragic as the 2 previous stories. Ain't no way around it. But there was a crime committed, and I ain't saying our girl is innocent or anything like that. I'm just saying I understand that sometimes there may come a moment when fuck it all is warranted, and let the chips fall where they fucking may is what we gonna do. And even when you know the punishment gonna cook, we still gonna do this shit. Now, in terms of prolific and just downright interesting, our last Melanin Mayhem maker is another OG female death row ancestor. She made history with her crime, too. You see, she had a lot of firsts as well. And without further ado, bringing to the stage Miss Virginia Christian. Virginia Christian was born August 15th, 1895 in Hampton City, Virginia, to parents Henry and Charlotte Christian. Everybody called her Virgie. Her little family was a regular, black, intact family in Virginia at the beginning of the 20th century. Virginia was what they called a washerwoman, kind of like Lucy. She would wash up behind white folks. She worked a few different families, helping to contribute to her own family's expenses because Virginia's mama was paralyzed, and so she couldn't do no work. She had been paralyzed for like 3 years. So Virginia did what she had to do. Like I said, she would pick up jobs and work for some people regularly. Well, there was this one woman in particular that she would pick up for, Miss Ida Belote. Oh, Ida was a piece of work. Virgie didn't like working for her and only did it when it was absolutely necessary because she didn't want to lose her shit on this white woman who was a OG Karen. But hey, it's 1912 and money is tight, so she suck it up and she deal with Ida's bullshit. Now, what had happened was a little situation that went as far left as fucking possible. You see, Ida, according to her own children, she would misplace shit all the time. And every time she couldn't find something, somebody stole it. And guess who the fuck that somebody was? The washerwoman, aka the maid. And in this case, Virgie. That shit would always come up, and Ida's punk ass wasn't the type to take ownership for her mistake. Oh no. That bitch would double down like this bitch was probably Marjorie Taylor Greene's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmammy. She give off that kind of energy, right? Foul mouth, bad temper, bad attitude, just ugh. Well, one day, Ida said that her best black skirt was gone, and Virgie had that bitch, and she wanted it back, or she wanted Virgie to cough up $5. Now, church, $5 in 1912 was a lot of money. Virgie ain't got it like that, but she agreed to give her girl $5, but she keeps saying that she ain't fuck with the skirt. So on March 18th, 1912, the day the motherfucking money was supposed to be paid, Virgie tried to duck out on the shit. But Ida's forgetful ass sent word that bitch better have my money or it's gonna be trouble, like Dollar Bill on Players Club. Shout out to the forever funny Bernie Mac. Virginia goes over and try to see if her and Ida can talk things out. That's what I think, because what else could it be? She didn't have the money. She knew this white woman could blow up her whole spot if she tried to duck her, and Virginia didn't want that smoke at her mom and dad's house. So in my opinion, she was trying for the diplomatic route. Well, apparently, old Ida wasn't trying to hear none of that shit. Ida's ass was going the fuck off. I told y'all she was known to have old slick ass mouth. And in my mind, she got to talking that 1912 privileged white woman bullshit. Probably got to thinking around some niggas with the hard ER. Nigga. And I can see Virginia trying to keep that shit together. I mean, y'all, she's 17, and that's that age. I don't care what century you live in. At 17, you stay ready, and your emotions can get the better of you before you know it. But Virgie can't just throw hands like she Glorilla or something. This a white woman. It's 1912. She gotta keep a cool head. But make no mistake, sister girl is heated. I commend Virgie for her restraint up to this point. I really do. But see, this is when the shit went left as fuck. And like I said, I ain't saying she right. I'm just saying I understand. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this term, cuspidor or spittoon. That's a fancy 1912 word for spit jaw. And I don't know if y'all have ever had the pleasure of being around somebody that needs to use a spit jar or a spit can or whatever they call it. But it's quite nasty and it stink. It's a container full of motherfucking spit. Spit jars back in the day was fancy. It wasn't a Campbell soup can or a Sprite bottle. No, it was a crockery. You know what I'm saying? Something, it might even been porcelain. Something that today we would call a knick-knack. Cute it may be. It's still nasty because it's full of spit, and it may be an accumulation of days worth of spitting. And it could have just been spit, or it could have been super spit, that chewing tobacco spit. Oh, Lord. Okay, so now that you are properly primed, let me continue. Like I said, Virginia been trying to talk this woman down and try to get her to understand that she hadn't stolen nothing and she didn't have no money. And Ida has gone completely apeshit. And after calling her everything but a child of God, Ida has now picked up the spit jar and threw it at Virginia. And that motherfucker hit. Ooh, that motherfucker hit all over Virginia. That rage, that indignation you feeling right now, I can only imagine that Virginia felt that shit times 1,000. And in that moment, she flipped and spazzed the fuck out on Ida. Man, Virginia opened up a can of whoop ass on this old lady for old and for new. Virginia said it was 2 brooms and they both ran for the brooms at the same time, but Virginia got there first and she commenced to beating the brakes off Ida's jazzy mouth spit jar throwing ass. Virginia beat that woman from one room to the other as Ida tried to run from that broom handle. But, at some point, Virginia probably realized they're gonna kill my ass when word get out what the fuck I'm doing. So, shit, I might as well make it good. It even looked like Virginia took a break between whooping up on Ida's ass. And I'm thinking, in my mind, Virginia probably stopped popping her after the 6th, 7th, 8th time that she hit her with that broom. She probably stopped. Ida sitting there bleeding and crying and shit. And Virginia gonna try to render some aid. And she's coming to her senses now, and she's like, oh, fuck, I done fucked up, right? But then I also think that around this time, Ida probably started right back up selling wolf tickets. Like, bitch, you just got your ass beat. You might want to act like you got some sense and keep your mouth closed. But not Ida. Ida probably started telling Virginia what she was gonna do to her and all kind of shit. And Virginia probably told her to shut up. You poking the bear, bitch, you better shut up. And that old school white privilege just would not let Ida recognize the situation she was in. You telling Virginia that she fucked it either way. So shit, if I'm fucked, might as well go out with a bang. And that's just what the fuck Virginia did. So now Virginia is putting her paws on Ida once more. And Ida done started screaming when she realized that she couldn't shake Virginia. And now Virginia couldn't have that. You can't be screaming and shit, drawing attention. So Virginia grabbed the same towel that she had been letting Ida mop that blood up with, and she started shoving that motherfucking rag inside of Ida's mouth. She shoved that rag in with the broom handle, y'all. She was really trying to plug that hole, like literally. Man, she shoved that rag so hard in that woman's mouth that it wasn't just only the rag, it was also some of Ida's hair being shoved down her goddamn throat. Because Virginia needed quiet, and she needed to think what her next move was going to be. And I guess she figured that she would think better with a little something sweet. So she pick up Ida's pocketbook and head to the store. It's right up the block. And she go to the store and she buy 10 cents worth of candy with a dollar bill straight out of Ida's bag. And then she go back to Ida's house. Now, mind you, people are speaking to Virginia. People are seeing Virginia. She get back to Ida's house and she kick it there for about an hour. And then she dip because the kids gonna be coming home from school soon. She leaves Ida's body laid out on the floor, bleeding. And if not dead, Ida was definitely on the last step of the staircase to the upper room. Like this bitch had her hand on the doorknob. She is right there. Coming in, Jesus. Well, Virginia goes home. And right after, Ida's youngest daughter, she come home from school. She walk in, she drop her shit, she call out for her mama. Her mama don't say nothing, so shit, she go outside and start playing, just like little children do. But a little while later, the oldest daughter come home, and when she walk in the door, she feel like some shit ain't right, because she can tell something is wrong. She seeing little splatters of blood here and there, and shit looking in a disarray, and she like, oh, hell no. Nah. And she leave out the house, and she go up the block a little bit and find some grown men and ask them to go back to her house and check on her mama because something is wrong. So the grown men, they go in, and they find Ida. Now somebody got to go get the constable. And they asking around because it's a crowd now outside of Ida's house. This is big news. And everybody telling the constable that he need to go talk to Ida's washerwoman. Everybody seen her at Ida's house today. Because I told you, as Virginia was walking, people are seeing her. People are talking to her. So, the constable, he rolls around to Virginia's house. And to her credit, she immediately plays dumb. Like, she don't know why the constable is at her house. Her first question was, did somebody say I stole something? Ma'am,
Come on now. And the constable hit her with like 2-3 questions, and then Virginia folded like a goddamn card table, honey. She went on ahead and come clean. She said that her and Ida had a few words and shit got a little heated, but they'll be cool in the morning. And the constable like, no, you won't. So he gets a search warrant. He looking around at Virginia's house, and he finds some bloody clothing under her bed and in the kitchen. And the shoes that Virginia got on got blood on them. So they immediately arrest her and take her to jail. And when she get to jail and they do the strip search, they find Ida's change purse tied around her waist. God damn it, Virgin, you ain't trying to get rid of shit. Like, ma'am, this is not how you criminal if you're going to be out here criminaling, man. This is not how they do it. They charged Virginia with first-degree murder, and she was tried and convicted on April 9th, 1912. Virginia's trial took all of an hour from all rise to the defense rest, and a whole 30 minutes for the jury of none of her peers to convict her of that murder. She was given an execution date of June 14th, 1912. Now, her lawyers filed a motion or two, and June 14th came and went, and Virginia still yet holding on, Jesus. But baby, this is 1912. Not today, where a motherfucker can sit on death row for 20 years and counting. Oh, no. Virginia might have missed that first date, but bet your ass the envelopians will not be denied a killing. Oh, no. They gave her August 2nd as her next death date. And so her family, they're visiting her every day because in a minute, they're going to be moving her to the state penitentiary where they do the executions. They still trying to fight and try to get her a stay of execution. They're doing everything that they can. They are petitioning the governor for clemency, and they granted her a little stay, another stay on August 2nd. But that day came and went. But then they said, you know what? No more stays. August 16th, that's your day. Virginia's mother, she wrote a letter to the governor, a shot in the dark trying to save her baby. Oh, y'all, I'm going to put the letter on social media. Oh, it broke my heart. The letter said, "My dear Mr. Governor, please forgive me for bowing low to write you a few lines. I am the mother of Virginia Christian. I've been paralyzed for more than 3 years, and I could not look after Jenny as I wants to. I know she done an awful wicked thing, and she killed Miss Belote, and I hear the people at the penitentiary wants to kill her. But I is praying night and day on my knees to God that he will soften your heart so she may spend the rest of her days in prison. They say this whole thing is in your hands, and I know, Governor, if you will only save my child, who is just a little over 16 years old, God will bless you forever. If I was able to come see you, I would explain things to you better, but I can't do nothing but pray to God and ask him to help you sympathize with me and my trouble. I am your humble servant, Charlotte Christian." Oh, my Lord. I can feel the love and the pain all through that country. Oh, honey, these my people. When y'all see the letter, you know what I'm talking about. This woman would have given her own life to save her daughter. But the state wasn't studying none of that shit. Everything they tried to do to save Virginia's life failed. Virginia was gonna cook, literally. Before she met her fate, she wrote one last letter to her family. And she says, "I know I'm getting no more than I deserve. I am prepared to answer for my sins, and I believe the Lord has forgiven me. I fear that Mrs. Belote might not have been a Christian, and I blame no one for my situation. I hope to meet Miss Belote in heaven. I thank all who have worked on my behalf." Fuck that bitch. Nah, Virginia, we ain't going out like that. I know you were trying to save your life, but fuck that bitch. That bitch spit on you 1,000 times. Fuck that hoe. She got what she deserved. I'm sorry. I told y'all I ain't wrapped too tight. The morning of her execution, August 16, 1912, Virginia was up at 6 a.m. They fed her a good breakfast, and they say she took her time eating it. Shit, I would have too. This gonna be the last time I get some eggs and bacon. You better believe I'm finna keep sweat this shit and make it last forever. She told them that she ain't want none of them preachers coming up in there. I can imagine she probably had all the religion ever needed shoved down her throat by all the ministers that had been up there to see her, right? She told them that she was cool, though, if the prison chaplain wanted to tag along. She was cool with him. Baby, at 7:18 a.m., they came to get that ass. And Virginia was quiet. They thought they was going to have to drag her to that chair, but far from it. I think that Virginia at her young age had come to terms with her mortality when she realized she killed that woman. Now, all the reports say that she showed no emotion, that her face was absolute and fearless. I don't believe that. Nah, she was scared. But it's just ingrained in our DNA to be strong, even in the face of death. She wasn't going to let all them white faces see her vulnerable. She had just celebrated her 17th birthday on death row the day before. Talk about a sobering reality. I feel like she made peace with the fact that her life was on a countdown and it would not be denied. She knew exactly how and when her story was going to end, and she accepted it. She sat in that chair and she let them strap her in without a struggle. Because unlike everybody else, Virginia didn't get the hanging. Virginia's ass got the electric chair. Baby, she sat in that chair without a struggle, y'all. She didn't say a word. They slipped that hood over her head and Virginia just sat there and waited. And at 7:25 a.m., they rolled on to and flipped the switch on Virginia's ass, and electricity flowed through her body for a whole 2 minutes before they pronounced her dead. And as soon as the state was done, her mom and her daddy was right there to take her right on back home to properly bury her. And with her death, Virginia Christian was the first one to be executed in the 20th century in the state of Virginia. She was also the last woman to be executed in the state of Virginia in the 20th century. But wait, there's more. Baby girl, I told you, she went out like a G. She ain't getting no punk ass needle. She didn't hang from her neck. Oh no. OGV, she rode that lightning bolt like John Coffey did in the Green Mile and made history as the only female minor executed by electric chair. And if setting that record wasn't enough, she was the last female criminal executed in the electric chair by the Commonwealth of Virginia. I think Virginia's story is tragic. It's a cautionary tale that sometimes the repercussions for our actions can be more than we ever thought they could be. On the one hand, I was like, yeah, Virginia, beat that whole ass. Y'all know how we feel about somebody spitting on us. That spit jar hitting her was like 100 motherfuckers spit on her at once. Like, that's more than a hot tour, right? I know what it's like to be a teenager and lose my cool and react badly. But thankfully, none of my indiscretions ever landed my ass on death row. Once Virginia crossed that line and raised her hand to that white woman, it was over. To let her live meant jail or death. To kill her ass meant jail or death. And I don't think she meant to kill her at first. I really think she just wanted Ida to shut the fuck up. Man, I just wish Virginia had just stopped working for Ida. She didn't want to work for that woman, and I wish she could have just been able to not work for her. She knew that woman was trouble, but she needed the money. You know, one last thing. All 3 of these melanated girls met their death without flinching. I don't think I could be as stoic as they were. They didn't cry. They didn't have to be dragged. I mean, they were legit G's with that shit. Like, I know me. They would have had, you're going to have to drag me kicking and screaming. I promise you, I am not going quietly. That's not what it's going to be. But what a strength that these girls had. They were composed till the end. Children of history that paid the ultimate price for their crimes, and we never knew a thing about it. Well, we do now. Just like you know that Melanin Mayhem is the shit, man. Renee, stay dropping them bangers. And now it's your turn to drop me in the group chat. Share me on your socials. Like and subscribe so that you don't miss a minute of the mayhem. Now, I don't have a lot of pictures of our OGs this week, but I got a little something for you. I got a little something. Next week, I'm going to be back with more mayhem. But until then, y'all, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay telling somebody about Melanin Mayhem. And remember, if you stay ready, baby, you ain't gonna never have to get ready. It's one love, Noir Nation, and the country girl is out this bitch.
Woo-wee, Nana, you did that.